Well, navigation in its basic form is about menus, and we already have a menu here, so let's take a look at that. What's in there for us? Let's go back to the admin, and we see that there's also a navigation menu item, and under that we have basically two things. Well, first of all, we have a list of menus, and then we have a list of menu items. The reason is that we can have multiple menus. Right now, we only have a single menu, a main menu, a single menu called the main menu, which only has two menu items. But we could also add a new menu, and we can also add new menu items. Furthermore, obviously, we can also edit the menu itself. By default, we can only edit the title, but you may have guessed again that menus are also content items, so we could also extend menus too. We could add parts to it. We don't want to do that right now. But rather, let's add a menu item here. On the right hand side, we have all the available types of menu items, and you may be shocked, but menu items are also content items. And the basic menu item types are as following. Well, the content menu item is for browsing a content item in easily. So if I click browse here, a content picker window opens, and I can select any listable content item here to link to from the menu. So for example, I can select Jane Doe. I can select Jane Doe, and it was actually selected in this window, but something strange happened. And after I hit save, everything is configured, the content item is created, and on the front end, we now have a link to the Jane Doe content item. This is quite convenient because you just have to browse to the content item, but there is also a performance penalty with it. Since Orchard uses an SQL database in the background, there are various tables with various rows in it, and if you create a content menu item, multiple rows in multiple tables need to be fetched in, so it's quite slow. You won't notice it with a few content items and a few menu items, but if you have a huge menu with 100 menu items, it will be slow. So instead, what we suggest to use is the custom link, which is also probably the most versatile one, because the custom link is basically just a menu text and the URL, where the URL can be any URL, internal or external. So, for example, the menu text can be, well, Jack Doe, and since we have everything on default, Jack Doe should be reachable under /Jack Doe, but let me check. So I'm opening now the Jack Doe content item. Oh no, sorry, we don't have author-output configured for that. Okay, then let's add an admin link. So this menu item will just point to the admin, to the dashboard, but this will be displayed in the menu. And since this will be a local link pointing to one page on this site, we can use a relative URL, so something like /admin. There is one best practice though. If you start your URL with a tilde, which has an example here, fortunately, if you start your URL with a tilde, then it will be usable in every environment. This is some implementation background or some technical background, but you may have noticed that the URL that we use for our site has this /orchard local prefix, URL prefix here, after the localhost URL. This is this is the app name or app URL, whatever. But if you have a tilde before a URL, then it will be automatically resolved to the actual app root route. So if there is such a /orchard local, then tilde/admin will point to orchard local/admin. If you deploy the site to a server where not such a localhost URL is used, but rather example.com, then with this tilde, this link will be resolved to example.com/admin. So you don't have to care about this prefix. So as a rule of thumb, if you are adding local URLs, always add tilde before the slash. So let's save it. And now we have an admin link on the front end, which indeed correctly points to the dashboard. So that works. We have a few other types of links here. We will cover a few of them later. Otherwise, feel free to try HTML menu item, which will be very similar to an HTML widget, or how it is used will be very similar to an HTML widget. And well, I will welcome you to guess what a taxonomy link may be. So that's about navigation. And as you can see, navigations and widgets are a related topic, because we have a menu here, but this menu can't be displayed without actually displaying it as a menu widget. So creating a menu itself is just something you see from the admin. But if you have the widget for it, which we have here already by default, then you can actually display it. So this main menu widget here is actually displaying the menu. Let's add another menu widget though, because there is something we haven't tried, and this is breadcrumbs. Although it won't be too spectacular in our case. Let's add another menu widget, again to the navigation zone. So let's keep everything here. So menu widget. Let's call it breadcrumb, or main menu breadcrumbs. And this will be a breadcrumbs menu. For those of you who don't know, for example, under the site settings, not here, not even here, where was that? I can't find any breadcrumbs here, but there should be. Whatever, we'll see it in action. So I've given the widget a title. This is necessary, so every widget should have a title, by the way. Let's not render the title on the front end, because I display it. And let's configure the menu widget. So everything before this, these options is just default. All of these are common to all of the widgets. But here we can configure the actual menu widgets option. We can select which menu to use. Well, there is only one. We can select on which level to start with, because menus can be also hierarchical, just like taxonomy terms. So you can put a menu item under a menu item and have a drop-down like hierarchical menu. You can also configure how many levels to display, but the main point here is that we now want this menu widget to be displayed as a breadcrumb. And let's also add the homepage as the first element. Now, for those of you who have never heard of breadcrumbs, now will come the surprise. So what are breadcrumbs? Well, let's kick Jane Doe. And well, it's not very nicely displayed. Let's click blog. That doesn't work. Let's click home. The breadcrumbs are not working. Did I miss something? Oh yeah. let me also tick this add the current content item as the last element checkbox, and I will explain what happened. And before going further, let's move the breadcrumbs under the menu. And let's hit refresh. And now we have a breadcrumb menu here. Well, it's not displaying too nice, but I hope you get the point. A breadcrumb menu is, well, basically a menu that displays the menu hierarchy, how you can get to that specific page where you are. Now our menu hierarchy is very small, so there seems to be no point. But as you can see, we are now on the Jane-Do page, and the breadcrumb displays that we are under the home. So the Jane-Do page is under home. This is because there is just one level in the menu. So our menu here is quite flat and small, so this breadcrumb is not very spectacular. But if you have bigger multi-level menus, then you will also see much longer breadcrumbs, which are also quite useful for users to get back where they navigated away from. So this is a usability feature. And I think this is basically about navigation.